Hello, everyone. This is 5RoundMMA. My name is Alex Maris, alongside my co-host Albert Sita. Thank you again for tuning in this week here on whatever platform you're listening to us, whether it be audio-wise on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Podomatic, or wherever you get your podcasts, or if you're watching the video feed on YouTube. Certainly want to thank you. We appreciate you taking the time out to listen to us ramble and rant about professional wrestling, mixed martial arts, and any little thing that kind of crosses our mind. This week we got an action-packed show for you. Got our reactions for UFC Fight Night, Thompson versus Neal, the last UFC fight card of 2020. We're going to talk about what I just learned recently. There's two Paul brothers. I just learned that this week. There's Logan.
I had to explain that.
There's Logan Paul and there's Jake Paul. We're going to talk about who's on the chopping block for the UFC and who we might not see come 2021 anymore on the UFC roster. We're going to talk about some professional wrestling. Albert's going to break down his theory and what Kenny Omega is doing in AEW.
I hope all the marks, or should I say smarks out there, are listening.
Go take notes. Going to break down what Kenny Omega is doing in the professional wrestling world. And we're going to talk about the disappointing ratings for Raw on the USA Network and what can be done about it. And that's the kind of conversation we have like weekly. But I guess reports came out that USA Network is not really happy with the recent ratings on Raw. But before we get started here, we were talking before we recorded about the Disney company investor meeting a couple weeks ago that literally said, hey, there's a slew of new shows we're going to be making, like 10 different Star Wars shows, like 5 or 6 different Marvel shows. Albert, is it a little much, or is that like not enough for you? Is your plate full already with what you're going to watch? Is it going to be all Disney Plus all the time? Should you just cancel Netflix, cancel everything else because you're going to have like 10 Star Wars shows coming out in the next couple of years or so?
I'm not going to lie. I'm not mad at it just because how well Mandalorian did.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it, but at the same time, you never want to water down a product.
Yeah.
That's usually when things get rushed and things get watered down, that's when you got all sorts of problems. Like I still, to this day, I have a bad taste in my mouth with Game of Thrones because it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, it was too much. They did it too fast. It got watered down, and then we got what we got.
Yeah.
So as long as they are responsibly doing these series,
yeah,
I'm all for it.
Well, yeah, it's their own channel, so there's like no like theatrical date, right? They could kind of do it if it falls by production. They could say, we're going to pause it,
and I'm perfectly fine with that. So I'm fine with that.
I'll just point out too that I'm a big Star Wars fan, loved the movies growing up. But Albert, when I first met him in high school, he was the first person I knew that read the Thrawn trilogy.
Yep.
So that's how you know like the difference between a Star Wars fan and a Star Wars like fanatic. The people who actually just don't watch the movies but also kind of read the literature and the books and the comic books. So Albert is that deep into the Star Wars universe. So when he's talking about like anything the show is going on, that's your man right there. So and the Marvel stuff too, man, is gonna be insane. It's no longer the cinematic universe; it's a television universe. You got rumors of Sony kind of bringing back the old Spider-Man 2.
Real quick, what's your thoughts on that multiverse cartoon? Or they're just gonna literally like, what if this happened? What if that happened?
I see it as a filler. I mean, it's a cartoon, so it'd be kind of cool, I guess. But I don't know.
Because the way I take it is, I read comics here and there.
Yeah.
I get overwhelmed with the multi-universe, this is universe 67214 and then these events. I get overwhelmed with that, and then I lose interest because I'm like, dude, I'm not going to go that deep and figure it all out and kind of
I don't know. See, I don't think it'll last very long because the whole premise is like, what if? Like, I think one episode is what if Black Panther turned out to be Star-Lord.
Yeah.
And then what if the Detective Peggy Carter got the super serum and it wasn't Steve Rogers, and like it's an episode on it, I guess. So I don't know. I mean, cool, but I don't really see it unless it kind of completely blows your way with the animation and the storytelling. But I mean, maybe I'll check it out if I'm done with everything else. But I'm more of like a story progression type of guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of alternate universe. Is like, we'll see. I don't know. But I mean, it's like, man, I almost kind of wish, like, where was all this streaming stuff in 2020 when we're all forced to stay home? Now, like, when everybody's getting vaccinated, and
now
like,
we got stuff.
Now
to
we got
watch.
stuff to stay us home. We're gonna keep us home now. But major props to Disney on that end. I'm sure we'll talk about more about that stuff as the year goes by. It's 2021. We wrap up the show production here, but this week we got MMA to talk about. So let's go ahead and start this timer right now. Let me get this 5 minutes up. Saturday night, UFC had their final event of 2020, UFC Fight Night, Thompson versus Neal. It was actually a fight card that had a lot of name fighters. You had Stephen Thompson, Jose Aldo, you had Greg Hardy, love him or hate him. Anthony Pettis was on this card here. Marlon Moraes. Thoughts and reactions to, I guess we'll start from the bottom down, Albert.
I think this little ribbon means they won like a bonus.
Oh, yeah, from the bottom up. Sorry, bottom down. Bottom up from the main card, Greg Hardy loses finally to Marcin Tybura.
Disappointing.
Was going to go to the stand-up.
Greg Hardy was looking good.
Yeah.
His stand-up was looking really good. I thought he tired the Marcin right off the bat. He overwhelmed him with punches. And the guy gets taken down, and he pretty much quits. There's no other way to explain it. I mean, he literally turtled up and decided to just stop. You know, I'm not going to compete anymore now that I'm in the ground.
Yeah, that sounds about Greg Hardy though.
But
if you guys want to know why Albert is a little defending Greg Hardy a little bit, it's because he's a Cowboys fan. Albert's a Cowboys fan.
I'm a Cowboys fan, and
so
I don't care how horrible you are. If you want my squad, I'm with you
until you die or what. Yeah. So I think that's Greg Hardy. Take him down. That's all. Tybura was tough enough and had the chin enough to kind of withstand his power,
and he got that second win.
Yeah. So it took him down. Show exactly what Greg Hardy is on the ground. If he's getting ground and pounded, that's it. So we'll kind of see. This might be like, unless he vastly improves his grappling and his takedown defense, that's the formula how to beat Greg Hardy, and he might not get past that level.
He's probably going to make the list.
Yeah, he might not get past the level of the Marcin Tyburas and get into that echelon of fight, unless the UFC cuts around and gives him like those easy fights to a title shot just because his name is. But UFC and Dana White love him. He's always on the main card, main evented for guys who's had 3 or 4 fights in his career. So Marlon Moraes surprisingly lost. Rob Font.
Wow. Can I just I was stunned. I watched these fights with my friends Jose and Oliver, who are not MMA fans, and they couldn't believe why. Like, I was shocked, and they're like, dude, like, why are you acting all like? I mean, I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
I honestly, look, and this is nothing on Rob Font. I think Rob Font is an amazing fighter, but just what I seen from Rob Font, I just thought he was like not quite there yet. Mm. And I honestly thought Morales had a couple more title fights in him.
Yeah. Was a former champion in the
especially
World Series of Fighting.
Especially with his Jose Aldo performance, even though a lot of people think he lost that fight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big fight. Even though he lost to Henry Cejudo, he was giving him trouble in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I thought there was a couple more title fights in him. And then after seeing Rob, I was like shocked.
Yeah, Rob Font came out with a definite chip on his shoulder, I think, and proved a lot of people that he's like the new face of this bantamweight division for sure.
And he called out TJ Dillashaw, and you know what? I ain't mad about that either, because TJ Dillashaw, I get it. He thinks he's just, championship only material.
Yeah.
But look, he's been out for a long time. I think Dominic Cruz is a different story, and why he always gets put in the title picture.
He's a former champion.
And for some reason, and technically when Dominic Cruz got hurt, he didn't really lose the belt and stuff like that. So I think it's a different situation. So I think it's perfect for TJ Dillashaw to come back and fight someone like Rob Font.
I like it too. That's a good call out for him. Not a big fan of Michel Pereira. His backflips and
you don't like the spinneroonie?
I don't like it. I also don't like his man bun either. But he won against Chaos Williams. This guy. For as many people like either love the flipping during the middle, a back flip in the middle of a fight, or you hate.
It's too much sauce on that taco for me.
If you guys bounced and over, so he won. Skip. Jose Aldo fighting back the hands of time against Marlon Varela, a unanimous decision victory. He looked pretty good at 135, man. He looked shredded.
I thought Giselle looked really good. I have a bigger question to ask.
Yeah.
Did you see that he had like some kind of weird sticker, like temporary tattoo on his chest?
Yeah.
I thought you're not allowed to do that.
I guess it's like the
like a
Brazilian,
soccer,
the Brazilian like naval forces. I think.
Oh, okay.
I think he trained his boxing there. So maybe the UFC let it slide because it wasn't really a sponsorship. It was like a shout out to the military for Brazil.
I guess.
That's
I still don't like that.
Yeah, if it was like a beer logo, I'm pretty sure they're not gonna do that.
Because the thing about it this way, it can get out of hand.
Yeah.
One and two, like how do you know that doesn't add an extra slickness?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree, but he said that he feels good.
He looked good.
135.
I liked
Obviously,
it.
he was the king of 145 for a long time. I think it was Alan Joban or Anthony Smith. They're the post-fight. Good to see Alan Joban on there. By the way, the Versace model getting
Our
some
boy.
TV time. They said that maybe because him going down to 135 and that effort. I think Anthony Smith who said that. To make that weight. Is it maybe reinvigorating Jose Aldo? Because maybe at 145 he was so good and it was such an easy weight cut for him that, you know what, I'm just so good. I don't have to try that much.
Yeah.
Now that he's older, now that he has to make weight, maybe like a more motivated and determined Jose Aldo could maybe make some noise in the bantamweight division. Obviously, he's a lot older.
And he's only 34. We keep saying he's older, but
I know, but I guess we're counting the miles, right? We're counting the miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with Anthony Pettis. He won on the featured prelim bout. I think at 170 he fought.
Yeah, and he looked like a soft 170.
Yeah.
So I'm glad he said he was going to go back down to 155.
Again, he's only 33 years old.
Yeah.
He's younger than us. But, like, it's just the miles, right? We think he's been there forever. He has been there forever. But, again, this is, like, the length of a fighter. So, a lot of fighters here have fought back that hand of time. And, again, another one fought back that hand of time. Stephen Thompson in his late 30s. Clinic. A textbook Stephen Thompson fight against Jeff Neal. He's calling out Jorge Masvidal for the Stephen Thompson's was given the title of the nicest mother effer.
Yeah.
He wants to go up against Jorge Masvidal, the baddest mother effer.
Hey,
so.
And props to Wonder Boy. He has a win already over Masvidal.
Yeah.
It's very rare you see someone call out someone they already beat.
Yeah.
So respect.
Well, he said he gave credit to Masvidal because he's the nicest guy. He's saying like. He kind of backhanded his like a backhand compliment. He pretty much saying that Masvidal talked his way to a higher ranking. He's like, I beat him, and then like I give credit to Jorge. You know, now like since I beat him, he's now one of the highest paid fighters in the UFC, and he's ranked above me, but hasn't really done anything. He's all, I beat him. Let me run it back again. Let me beat him again.
Oh, Wonder Boy, you a bad.
He's nice, but he throws his jabs in there very politely. So credit to Wonder Boy Thompson. Before we close out, I'm sure our next episode we'll kind of talk about a year in review, but the final event in the UFC 2020, crazy year, right? But real quick, your thoughts on how they did it, the Fight Island, the Apex Center during this pandemic.
I would like to start off with I am not a Dana White fan, never been, never probably will. But kudos to the UFC. I thought they did a wonderful job with the pandemic, and man, did they put so much fights, and not just that. Something like magical came out of it because you got like these stars that I think in another, if it wasn't the way it was, they wouldn't become stars.
Yeah.
I think it would have taken a while for the UFC or the MMA community to realize who these people are. Yeah. And so that was it was pretty awesome to see people get over that normally wouldn't get over.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I thought they did a great job. I liked the Fight Island. I wish it was more Mortal Kombat based, but it's fine.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like, we're in Abu Dhabi.
You're underneath the canopy. I'll take it. Yeah. You know, but if they were fighting like right out on the beach, dude, I would have been marking out.
That would be pretty cool.
I thought for how much fights they put on and what's going on, I thought they did a good job.
Yeah. All right. That's it for round number 1. We're going to come back and talk about the Paul brothers, that there's 2 of them. I didn't know that. So what they're doing and how it's drawn attention negatively or positively to the MMA world. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
FiveRoundMMA.
All right, welcome back. So I kind of want to state my feelings on the world of social media and influencers. I think if you call yourself an influencer or you aspire to be one, I think you are a detriment to society because you're not really doing anything good for anybody but yourself. With that said, I just learned this week that there are 2 Paul brothers. And I learned that from the Dylan Dennis video. So I sent that video to our group chat, Albert's in it, and it was one of them, one blonde-haired dude, I don't know, throwing balloons at Dylan Dennis,
Jake
right?
Paul.
It was Jake Paul.
Yeah.
And then
the funniest thing was when I told you, like in the message, I was like, bro, like that's not Logan Paul. Because Alex.
No, Jake Paul's fighting Mayweather, right?
No, Logan Paul's fighting. Yeah, because you were like, isn't he? What is the Mayweather fight not on anymore?
Yeah, like why are they doing this?
It's clearly on. It's just a different brother. So his older brother Logan Paul is the one fighting Floyd Mayweather. Jake Paul is the one that just knocked out Nate Robinson and is looking for a fight.
I'm fucking lost. I'm sorry. I'm gonna beat that out, but okay. So are they twins or not? They're not twins.
No. One's older, I think, by like a year or two.
Okay, so just two white guys who identically alike.
Yeah.
So, but they're brothers, so that makes sense.
They're brothers, yeah. And so, anyways.
Okay, so which one is calling out the MMA fighters?
So the younger brother is the one calling everybody out.
Okay.
But he's the only one that has a winning record in this boxing.
Okay.
Whatever you want to call it. I guess just call it.
So why are they even famous to begin with? What do they do? Do you know?
They're social. I know back in the day, there was Vine. Remember?
Yeah.
I think they did some Vine stuff, and they were they got popular off Vine.
Okay.
And then they used that and moved over to the other social media platforms like YouTube.
Okay. So they just not do anything like.
No, it's straight up influencers.
Other than record themselves doing
stupid
stuff.
And then they entered boxing.
Okay. So Logan Paul's fighting Mayweather.
Yeah.
Jake Paul just knocked out Nate Robinson.
Yes.
And now he's looking for a fight for an MMA fighter.
It looks like that's what he wants to do.
Okay, I think I'm clear now. So Jake Paul he's the one trying to call out Conor McGregor, trying to call out Dylan Dennis, and now I think he's in a feud with Michael Bisping, right?
Yeah, if you look at his Twitter,
this is Jake Paul.
This is Jake Paul.
Yeah.
December 17th, he put up a meme of the famous H-bomb that was Michael Bisping took.
Yeah,
and if you could read it for us.
It just says, was it at Bisping? My team is working on a melatonin brand deal for you and Nate. And I guess this is a picture of the H-bomb off Hendo from. So basically, okay, so
my
now that
will tear him up though. By the way,
yeah,
boxing, MMA.
I also
heard.
I guess I read too. I think some of the MMA outlets, credit to them, they quickly debunked that Dylan Dennis video as being fake because Brendan Schaub's involved in it, and like it was like perfect timing.
Yeah, well, let me.
Which Brendan Schaub too, just like man, that guy.
Let me put on my conspiracy detective hat on, and let me break it down for you. So Brian Schwab does a show where he takes fighters or just people in general to eat. Yeah. Mostly it's fighters.
Yeah.
He takes them out to eat, and then they do a little thingy. Prior to this Dylan Dennis one, he did Logan Paul.
Okay.
And he usually does his like opening or whatever in the same spot, same area. So this was the same location where he did Logan Paul. So what I'm thinking is Brandon Schaub obviously has some kind of relationship with Logan Paul, whatever. I think it got out that his next guest is Dylan Dennis, and they're going to shoot here, whatever.
Yeah.
And so Jake Paul knew all the info, knew what time they're going to be there, and then he showed up and did it.
Okay.
Now, did Dylan know? I don't know. If you watched it back, I feel like he didn't know because he was like, when you really piss someone off, like you can tell. And I think you can tell he was pissed off.
But what does that look for? What's that look for Dennis when, okay, the homie's calling out Conor McGregor and his wife, but yet you're going to fight him? It's like,
I think
you're like, okay, option B.
Yeah, but I think Jake Paul's going the route of Artem. Remember what happened when Khabib put his hands on Conor's boy?
Yeah.
You don't put your hands on Conor's boy.
Okay, the reverse. Okay,
you know,
doesn't that make Dylan look like a little punk too? Like, hey, my big brother Conor, come help me. Either way, Dylan Dennis is not fair. If I were Dylan Dennis, dude, I'll be. You know what? I'm out. I don't want another dude, you guys.
Actually, the only way Dylan I think looks good is keep in mind. There was another guy that was trying to get at Conor, and guess what? Artem dealt with it, and that was Mr. Paulie Malajani, whatever his name is. They win a bare knuckle fights, and Artem put it on him.
Yeah.
And so Conor didn't even he hasn't even mentioned Conor's name no more. You know why? Because his boy handled his business. So it could be that same route. I mean, honestly, people keep saying that. People been watching MMA. Dylan isn't the greatest stand-up guy, but they say that
But that's why it's be even, right? Because he's a jiu-jitsu master, and then like.
So this is what I'm thinking. Worst case, you get Dylan versus Jake, right? Yeah. If Jake wins,
not Logan.
Yeah, not Logan. If Jake wins, he might get that Conor fight.
Okay.
If Dylan wins, he shuts him up, and Conor just doesn't say anything no more. Just like Paulie Malignaggi when he got his butt handed to by Artem.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've spent way too much time talking about these dudes than I want the rest of my life. But interesting. You'll see. I don't know. Influencers getting beat up. I'm all for that. So, way to go. Hopefully, if it's not Dylan Dennis or Michael Bisping, maybe somebody. I don't know.
Suppose Yoel Romero accepted said, "Hey, dude, I'm down."
Yeah, but no, they said no.
They don't want Yoel. Trust me.
All right, that's it for round number 2. We're gonna come back and talk to some serious business in mixed martial arts. Exploring now the possible UFC roster cuts and who was on the chopping block. One fighter says he kind of knows who is on the chopping block, and we'll talk about that next.
5-round MMA.
All right, welcome back. Time for round number 3. We get some serious business here in the mixed martial arts world. Dana White said a couple weeks ago that massive roster cuts are coming from the UFC, up to 60-plus fighters. I don't know if it's annual roster cuts or what, but think about it. They haven't been making money with revenue, right, from live attendance. Obviously, ESPN deals in place. I'm not too sure what the pay-per-view buys are, but they say, hey, you know what, it's time to trim some of the fat off, right? We saw already they let go of Anderson Silva. They let go of Yoel Romero. They let go of Anthony Rumble Johnson. They let go of Rachel Ostovich. So you kind of see it there. Chris Weidman, former UFC champion, said that, you know what, it looks like to me, if you're making a lot of money, the UFC is looking to get rid of you.
Yeah.
You talked about so I guess I want to raise a question. Who else is on the chopping? Is it a free-for-all? Do you see some fighters kind of, okay, that fighter's going to be gone?
Yeah, I honestly think, like what Chris Weidman said, if you've been in the game a long time and you know that they're getting paid good money, but you're not a contender, you're getting cut.
Well, like who?
Again, like Anthony Pettis is a perfect example.
Good example. Yeah.
I think if you would have lost that fight yesterday, he would have been cut.
Yeah.
We would have the big news coming out of this week would be Anthony Pettis is now cut.
Jose
Aldo, same thing. And I think it sucks, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Why would you keep paying this much money for some of these guys that you know probably not going to contend for the belt no more because they had their run. Yeah. They had their chance. They had plenty of opportunities.
Stephen Thompson too, right?
Yeah, even Stephen Thompson
could have lost.
Yeah, he probably could have been cut too. But some of these other guys, because one of the things I think this year, I guess, opened Dana White's eyes is he can make contenders.
Yeah.
We literally got 6-7 fighters out of this year that potentially could fight for that belt.
Jeff Buckley. Mr. Knockout.
Yeah, and guess what? These guys are all like early on into the UFC, so their price tag isn't as high. Yeah, but people like Chris Weidman, who has lost how many fights that Chris Weidman has lost?
I don't even know, but
a good amount.
He's not who he used to be.
But he has to have a high price tag. He has to. He was a former champion.
Beat Anderson Silva.
Yeah, and they probably renegotiated his contract a couple times already, so he's getting paid hefty money. So for him to think that he might be in the chopping block, I think he's 100% accurate. And I think, I honestly think this is good. You put these guys on their back, and we're going to see them perform to the greatest levels. It sucks.
Yeah.
Trust me, it sucks wondering, like, am I going to be cut? But in a way, it's exciting for a fan to, see this play out. It sucks, but I like it.
Yeah, I said Jeff Buckley. That's a deceased singer-songwriter. I mean, Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you. I think there's a lot of these fighters here who are like big names a couple years ago, like some like a Cowboy Cerrone, right? Who else did we had? Cub Swanson could have been one of them if he lost a couple weeks ago. And also too, but as much as Bellator says, okay, you know what? Maybe we don't want these guys. If Chris Weidman's on the market, they're going to look at him, right? If Anthony Pettis is on the market, they're going to look at him. It's going to get eyeballs to the organization. So, yeah, it sucks. They may be not in the UFC anymore, but the platform is there.
Yeah.
You also have the Professional Fight League that's maybe want to build this platform. You got stuff, and honestly, or they can go the Mighty Mouse route and go to one. go conquer that Asian market where
I'm pretty sure they.
And in all honesty,
they need plenty of fighters.
And Albert, I'm gonna say it, but there is no USADA out there. But yeah, I think that's a good point in seeing these guys who maybe former title holders, former perennial contenders here who are making a lot of money, who have main evented a lot of stuff, but they're either high up in age, high up in miles, and like you said, if I'm the UFC, do I want to Joaquin Buckley or do I want to keep pressing Chris Weidman? What's the upside in each, right? It's like the Dodgers, right?
Yeah.
We're going to have a whole bunch of players who are on the rookie contracts. We're going to ride them to a championship. And then when they get to the Justin Turner age, you know what? We'll let you go. It's all right. Because we got another guy coming in the wings.
Especially if you're the Dodgers, their farm system is ridiculous. Can they not produce stars? It's like, I swear every year, some guy that was in single A all of a sudden is an all-star.
It's good, right?
Man, it's ridiculous.
Also,
but anyways, before you move on, I just wanted, before I forget, sometimes the gamble works. So Ryan Bader was in this weird category too, where he has so much potential, but he would lose those big fights, and then it got to a point where he lost his last fights. He lost to Anthony Rumble Johnson, and they finally didn't re-sign him. And then he went and flourished in Bellator. Yeah. So for Bellator to take risk on some of these guys, it makes sense. Yeah. I mean, they might end up like Ryan Bader.
Yeah, like Anthony Pettis. If we would have lost, UFC would have cut him. Yeah. Go to Bellator. He's only 33 years old. Yeah. You could like get Anthony Pettis versus like a Pitbull fight. That would have been cool to see, right? Or even if Jose Aldo were to get cut from the UFC. Goes Bellator, you hook up against. I don't think they train together. I don't know because those Brazilians all kind of hang out together. But Jose Aldo versus Pitbull, come on, man. Yeah, that's a good fight to see. So, or even like if Jacare, because he lost big time to Holland. He might be on the chopping block too. Older guy, contender, might make a lot too much money for UFC. Yeah. He goes to Bellator, has a couple fights,
and he's a perfect example. How many title eliminators he's been in?
Yeah. Without catching it in. So it's just to see. I think I really think now, like, when we see who's getting cut, it's gonna be like, all right, that makes sense. Right? Yeah, so we should have saw it coming, or yeah, I kind of feel that was coming.
Yeah, because initially when we heard the Anderson Silva news, I was not shocked, but I thought they would at least let him ride out his whatever contract he had left. Like out of respect. Yeah. But then I started thinking about Chuck Liddell. Okay. But then the Yoel Romero one, that one I was shocked. Yeah. But then now that the dust has settled, it's starting to make a lot more sense
what
now.
They're thinking, yeah. All right, that's it for round number 3. We're going to take a break, enter the championship rounds. We're going to switch gears to professional wrestling here. And you don't want to miss this next round because Albert is going to school all these, I put it in quotation marks, everybody, so you can see, air quotes, school these smart marks on what he's going to break down what Kenny Omega's been doing and what the Kenny Omega character is in AEW and all of professional wrestling. So it should be pretty fun. Don't go anywhere. Stick around.
5-round MMA.
All right, welcome back. Time to enter the championship rounds. We're switching gears here and talking about professional wrestling. So if you watched anything pro wrestling going on right now,
there's only one name.
Talk of the town is Mr. Kenny Omega. He is an AEW champion, the AAA Grand Champion, or the Mega Champion, I think it's called. He is making his way on Impact in this crossover between AEW and Impact. If you want to know our thoughts on the little war, check last week's episode. We kind of broke that down a little bit. But it's really becoming the Kenny Omega show, right? He actually even tweeted out a photo of him dressed as Thanos with the gauntlet, and he has a little a stone for AEW, a stone for AAA, and he has like empty stones for NWA and for Impact, I think for something else, right? New Japan. So it looks like he's on a quest to become a world champion or the man in multiple platforms, organizations. And if that happens, that's like insane. If it's that's a whole different conversation. But we were talking about this, and Albert in one of our group chats is kind of completely just out of nowhere starting like, hey, let me school you guys here.
I think I had a few drinks in me, but I went through it.
What Kenny Omega is doing. So let me go ahead and start this timer real quick here. So you kind of just said out of the blue, I want to quote. This is actually his here.
Direct quote here.
Not to get too deep, but just so you guys can understand, Kenny's gimmick is a parody of a, quote, wrestler. Look how he's dressing as a person with money. His entrance as a cleaner 3 layers to this game. So break that down for me. What are these 3 layers to this game?
So pretty much, the best way I can give you guys an example is Kenny supposedly is now a rich wrestler. He has gained a lot of money through his career.
Okay.
And he is dressing ridiculous. Like he's wearing these like weird button-ups. He has like I guess what he considers like nice rings on his hands because he's not a ring guy. He doesn't really wear rings. And so that alone it's the first layer of what I'm trying to get at with Kenny. Like this is his perception of a perception of what a rich wrestler is.
Like the Ric Flair thing, right?
Yeah, the whole Ric Flair thing.
Who brought it back? Chris Jericho brought wearing suits back, right?
Yeah.
And then like didn't Seth Rollins start wearing suits and like that's kind of like I'm a bad guy now, so now I'm wearing a suit on TV.
Yeah, and so just so you can see the madness of this Kenny evolving, if you go all the way back to the Jon Moxley contract signature, he had a traditional suit.
Okay.
A traditional suit.
Okay.
But the more we see Kenny dressed up, the more ridiculous is coming. The more you guys know those billionaires you see on social media, how
those influencers.
Yeah, how like gaudy they start looking, how more
over the top and loud, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So that was one layer. So that's all 3 of them. His entrance as the cleaner. What does that mean?
Okay, so obviously first of all, what a genius. The cleaner means 2 things. One, he's literally, like if you, in baseball terms, a cleaner is a guy that comes and gets all the runs and
cleanup hitter,
so it's a reference to that, but at the same time, he's literally saying,
I'm cleaning up the wrestling business.
Yeah, not just clean up like he literally is like there's garbage and he's the man to clean it up, right? Like literally a cleaner.
Yeah.
And when he comes out in his entrance, like it's like face value. Like there's girls with brooms coming out and cleaning.
Yeah.
But the subtleness that he does in there is, when he gets announced, you get all these ridiculous. Like he has beat Jon Moxley twice. Nobody has ever done that. He's saying like ridiculous things, and it's funny because I hate Jim Cornette. Just to put out there. And he doesn't get it. He's like, why is he coming out to, and why are they referencing Goofy? Guess what, bro? Wrestling in its entirety is weird. It's strange.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to make sense. It's a story.
Yeah.
And I think George, again, just like the broom is face value, the naming all that stuff is face value. Dude, it's Goofy. Yeah. Like that's what wrestling is.
You said there too. The announcers continue to announce him with all his accomplishments, quote unquote accomplishments, which are ridiculous because wrestling in itself is ridiculous because it's a story.
Yeah.
So like you think he's telling them embellish my career accomplishments to enhance my.
But in reality, these accomplishments are pre-made.
Yeah.
So of course they're ridiculous.
Yeah. And then last kind of biggest one, everyone is begging for the old Bullet Club, and that's what he gave us. But with everything, just be careful what you wish for. You got this version of Kenny, and the only version Kenny can't bring the Bullet Club back together. What does that mean?
So real quick, Kenny in New Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, people loved him, loved his character, loved what he was doing.
Cleaner.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, the people I talk to that watch wrestling are not liking this version of Kenny. They're like, what is Kenny doing?
Yeah.
Why is he being all weird? Like, why can't he just be like the old Kenny? Why can't he just be like the old Kenny? And I feel like Kenny's so smart in the game that he's like, look, I'm going to use that. I'm a set up what everybody thinks they want. They want Bullet Club. But like at the end of the day, like be careful what you wish for, because now Kenny is trolling essentially his fans.
Okay.
Because look at it. Our boy Jason, big Kenny mark. All of a sudden, I don't like Kenny. I don't like this version.
He always hated. I thought he always hated Omega.
I know. I think he
You liked him in the beginning.
Yeah.
Now he hates him.
One of my coworkers, Art, same thing. He doesn't get it, whatever. And I just think Kenny's just in another level, saying like, look, you wanted all this. This is the only way you can get it. The only way you can get it is this ridiculous ass Kenny, this ridiculous gimmick, this Kenny that I'll do what I'll wrestle when I want, but this is the only way you're getting Bullet Club. This is the only way. I love it because I first, like as a fan, of course I want to see Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Of course I want to see Kenny from New Japan, but then he does this and I got mad, but then I got happy. It's like, dude, he's trolling me and I like it.
So I think to your point too, the cleaner gimmick. I think he was presented that like, hey, we want you to be like the assassin of like the Bullet Club, and he even said, Kenny Omega said, I didn't really understand what they meant, so I was like, I'm just gonna come out with a broom and mop and literally be the cleaner. So he's even like he's
that's
almost
a parody
like
on itself.
He's almost like the director Rian Johnson, where like they take a genre and they flip it upside down.
Exactly.
Like for example, Knives Out. It's supposed to be a whodunit. In that movie, Rian Johnson, he tells you who murdered the main character in the first 30 minutes of the film. That's completely flipping it on its head. You know, you kind of dissect it inside out. And this is a guy, Kenny Omega, he's been doing that. He's been like flipping things inside out, flipping them on their head, going, you know, starting from the bottom, top, bottom, left, right, left. So I'm not saying you're ahead of the game, but like that's a pretty crazy like string of text messages you just kind of like randomly threw at us in the middle of the night.
In the crazy part, just to give you some backstory, I'm a dude. I love Kenny. Since the moment I saw him in PWG, I fell in love with the guy.
Yeah,
I just couldn't get enough of Kenny.
So you've been following his career.
Yeah, and it's funny because when all this was happening in AEW and TNA, it had a bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, what's going on? And I found myself sitting there being angry, and then that's when it clicked on me. I was like, dude. Kenny did it on purpose. He's making me mad on purpose. I like it. And then it just switched on my hand. I was like, bro, give it to him. You should watch this guy. Follow him on social media. It makes no sense and it will piss you off. Like he like the matchups you want to see, he'd be like, yeah, sure. But you know, he's not going to do it. Right. But anyways.
Okay, so how does this end out for him? Does he actually win multiple world titles in the organization? Does he have that kind of pull?
I honestly think he's going to win every major title.
That's a lot of cooperation between organizations, man.
And look, we could go back to this podcast.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be
knocking
it down. So, like, I mean, he's going to win all the titles so much that Triple H himself is going to convince Vince McMahon to have Kenny Omega in NXT somehow.
Wow.
I honestly believe that.
As AEW champion, as Impact champion.
Because it's going to be like, what was Thanos' thing? It's inevitable.
Inevitable.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Love
here.
it. Dread it. It's inevitable.
And it's what wrestling needs. And guess what Kenny's going to do? He's going to snap his fingers.
Bring balance to the wrestling universe.
And bring balance to the wrestling universe. Oh, my God. All right,
that's it for round number 4. That's it. We got one more round coming up next. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw and the ratings going kind of in the wrong direction coming up next.
5-round MMA.
Welcome back, 5th and final round. So it's a little program note here. We are recording Sunday afternoon before TLC, so we couldn't really preview or have reactions to that card. So we'll have it next week. But yeah, TLC, the annual pay-per-view, tables, ladders, and chairs. I'm not sure every match should be a tables, ladders, and chairs match, but whatever. It's like the 10th year in a row they have it. But recent news kind of came out. Let's start the timer here. That USA Network is unhappy with the recent decline in the Raw ratings, especially I think these winter or fall months. But it happens every year, right? We get reports out that.
But this one's a little bit more unique. I don't know if you read more into the ratings. It's all about the demographics.
Okay.
And they're losing a very specific demographic to AEW.
The 18 to 34-year-old?
And for some reason, when it comes to marketing, that's the number.
Yeah.
They don't really care about
ratings.
Like that. They want that demographic because that's the demographic that purchases. That's the demographic that buys. That's the demographic
that's
they
disposable
want.
Income, right?
Exactly.
They could buy the shirts.
Yeah.
They could buy the DVDs.
Yeah, exactly.
They could buy the toys, right? Or the collectibles.
Exactly.
Like Albertita does.
And so here's the problem. Vince, when he first switched over from the Attitude Era, he had a smart idea, which was Disneyland. All right, you get the kids, then the parents purchase. And it worked. It worked for 10, 12 years? It worked. But guess what?
Look at John Cena, worked for him. Yeah.
What happened in the 80s that happened right now? Those kids grow up.
Yeah.
And then do those kids, I don't know if they're sharing the product with their kids now.
Well, because maybe they don't have kids right now because it's a different world we live in.
And so he's in this weird middle that he was when we went from the 80s to the Attitude Era. Yeah. I honestly think that. And I think that Disneyland thinking that Vince, he needs to now switch it again. But what's key here, like I told you, is everyone's looking at that demographic and they're losing it.
Yeah. So what do they, you don't think that like the pandemic has anything to do with that? Like people just aren't watching TV more, or the demographic, or is it AEW's? But AEW's on Wednesday night though.
Yeah,
we're talking about Mondays.
And it's funny because I would agree with that, except for AEW's demographic is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole reason Chris Jericho calls himself the demo god.
Yeah.
Because they're still bringing it in on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
They, for crying out loud, in their own channel, they compete with NBA.
Yeah.
And they're still bringing that demographic.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, they're not hitting 1 million weekly in their ratings, but that demographic is so important to marketing. So important.
Yeah. Well, I think obviously if you go over the NXT versus AEW, I think NXT has a better in-ring wrestling. But AEW has a better overall production.
Yes,
and it's more akin to Monday Night Raw, where NXT it's dark. It's just like doesn't feel like a real like television show. Where AEW it's well lit. There's pyro. There's the commentary is really good. It looks like a real high end production show compared to NXT. So I can see why they're going to win that ratings war for NXT versus NXT. But for them to kind of claim that demographic against Raw and potentially SmackDown, I think maybe it is something that USA Network should worry about. But I mean, we always see reports about this every time.
Yeah.
And then usually, this is that time of year where Vince will call in The Rock or Stone Cold or Brock to make a one-off.
Well, he did call
ratings will go up.
That's why we call Goldberg.
And then. See, guys, look at ratings are up. We're good. And all of a sudden, but can they do that now in a pandemic? Brock Lesnar says, I'm not coming back in the audience. You think The Rock's going to come in and talking to a bunch of like, was it the Thunderdome? He wants that live energy. Like people aren't going to risk kind of like coming out flat when there's nothing to talk about. So this might be the status quo. We're going to get a lot of Roman Reigns, a lot of Drew McIntyre for a long time.
Seth Rollins, gone. Like he's taking a break,
yeah.
Right? John Cena, I don't see him coming back unless there's live audience.
Yeah,
Brock Lesnar has said he's only coming back if there's live audience. The big star power is drizzling down.
Yeah.
And then
I wouldn't put Seth Rollins in there with John Cena and
I would.
But I wouldn't. Not at all. Not at all. Go finish your point, sorry.
Oh, well, my point is it could not just the pandemic, but it just could be one of those things where all the wrong things are hitting them at once.
Yeah.
You got the pandemic going on. You got some top wrestlers that I wouldn't say refuse to work, but it just doesn't make any sense for them to work at this time.
Yeah.
And so all that accumulation is now getting to WWE.
Yeah. I wonder if it just be like better for them just to pack up shop and go to New Zealand for a few months and just so that you get that live audience, right? Just like record like a whole month of the shows in New Zealand, so you have that because we're the only country in the world that has like 0 COVID cases.
And it's crazy because like basketball, baseball, you don't really like. It's awesome to see the fans there, but you don't need the interaction as much.
Yeah.
In wrestling, it's all about the fans. I mean, that's how people get over. That's how you actually know who is over and what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's like almost saying like go imagine this play going on without an audience.
Yeah.
Like that's
or like a band playing without an audience.
Exactly.
You don't know what songs are working and what songs are hits or not, right?
Exactly.
There's no reaction to it. So we'll see. I think they're going to survive.
They're not going under.
They're not going under anytime soon. But these reports come on every once in a while, every 2 or 3 times a year.
But I honestly do think they need to hit the change button. I think they need to update themselves.
I think so too. I think now the excuse of it's the pandemic, everybody's going through it. AEW is going through it. Every Impact's going through it. They have the resources to be creative enough to do it.
What do they always say? Why we should study history?
Yeah.
Why should we study history? So we don't repeat our failures, right? I honestly think they're doing the whole thing from 80s, like the same thing. They're almost refusing to keep up with what the times almost.
Yeah. All right, that's it. Also, we should talk about next week. Did you hear they're going to have an NXT for NXT?
What?
They're gonna Triple H is planning on developing another developmental so he could feed NXT for some reason. I don't know, because NXT needs its own NXT.
Hey, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, I love all the NXT roster, but I'm tired of the same damn matchups.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only see the same matchups 20 times. You know?
Yeah.
So
they're getting a little lazy in their writing too. So
I mean, they're probably taking a page out of AEW's book too, because I mean, they're just bringing up, I guess, quote, developmental talent left and right, and then now some of them are on Dynamite. So
yeah, so that's it for this week's show. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Make sure you can like, subscribe, turn on the notifications on our YouTube channel. We're not going to spam you too much. It's 1 or 2 videos a week. Please leave a comment. Follow us on social media. We will never call ourselves influencers. I promise that. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, both at FiveRoundMMA. It's FIVE Round MMA. I think that's all we have. Jason Hendricks and Guillermo Cita cannot join us this week, but we'll probably hoping to get them on next week for our year.
And hopefully we get a guest pretty soon.
Yeah,
right?
I think 2021 we're trying to line up some guests. Yeah, I think we've kind of found our groove. Right, we're about 6 episodes in. So I think we're in it now. We got all the technical bugs out the way. We haven't had any complaints so far about the screen going black in the middle of the thing.
But if you do have complaints, let me know.
Yeah, leave a comment.
I take responsibility for that.
That's it for this week's show. Again, hopefully we'll have Jason and Guillermo on next week. Albert, what do you got?
Oh, actually, before we end, maybe this could be our sound clip that you're going to hear in social media. Did you see the Orange Cassidy figure that's coming out?
No.
His hands go in his pockets.
That's insane.
That is revolutionary in the Fig
the toy game.
Oh, is it? Yeah, his hands go in his pocket.
Is it going on here on the shelf?
I might get it just because that's such a unique feature.
You know what? I'll have to check it out too. Maybe I'll get into the rest of the Fig. You're actually convincing me to get in the Fig game too.
Tell me when you look at those Marvel figures, Alex.
Yeah.
You're not drooling over.
No, I mean,
come on.
Yeah.
Those are awesome figures.
Nostalgia is a very dangerous drug, my friend, and that's definitely bringing up some nostalgia feelings inside me. So I might have to step up my game and join the Fig business with Albert. So that's it for this week. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next week on 5 Round MMA.
Thanks for tuning in.